Hello everyone, it's a pleasure to join you, albeit virtually, for the Thinking and Planning the Future in Heritage Management ICOMOS University Forum. And I would like to thank particularly Cornelius Holtorf for this kind invitation, and I wish everyone a fruitful and enjoyable time in the meeting. So here I am to talk about the work that the International Council on Monuments and Sites, ICOMOS, is doing with the Sustainable Development Goals. I'm the focal point for the SDGs in ICOMOS, and I'm coordinating our SDGs working group since 2016. And I will be trying to highlight some important points regarding our work, which is also written in summary in the poster presentation that I'm sending for the event. So you can follow some of the points and information I'll mention in this poster as well. Looking at the concept note and the key questions that have been posed for this university forum, it's all about the future. Which is indeed a very central theme for our work in the SDGs as well. We're always talking about future generations and long-term sustainability. We are actually in a lucky position in terms of the SDGs because we have our big guiding document, Agenda 2030, that the United Nations issued in 2015. Which actually has in its preamble the statement that the future of humanity and of our planet lies in our hands. It is also in the hands of today's younger generation who will pass the torch to future generations. And it goes on to say that this is a roadmap for sustainable development, and it will be for all of us to ensure that the journey is successful and its gains irreversible. Agenda 2030 is also mentioned as a plan of action for people, planet, and prosperity. And here, how our work ties into the issue of the future and sustainable development is really perhaps something between people and planet. The future of the planet in terms of how we're affected by climate change, by the loss of biodiversity. This is also very linked to people and their as cultural beings and the cultural heritage that we leave behind. Our destinies are completely interlinked. So whatever concerns and policies that are outlined in the Agenda 2030, these apply to the way that we perceive heritage. And perhaps this is a kind of a big hint about how we see the future of the heritage profession. Perhaps we could talk about some main trends such as digital technology and the role of the young generations who are very closely interacting with digital technology, decolonization, human rights, democracy, inequalities. So a lot of the social issues that heritage is also engaging with, and we're seeing a widening of heritage, a widening in terms of scope, vision, and also interdisciplinarity, transversality, how we can engage with other sectors that are not our traditional stakeholders perhaps. So sometimes going out of our comfort zones and thinking outside the box and communicating with new constituencies that we're not used to communicating with. So developing our own language so that heritage can maintain its relevance and its contribution to these wider concerns for the future. So some technical information on the SDGs. I should mention, you might know that there is an explicit expression of cultural heritage in the Sustainable Development Goals, which is under the urban goal number 11. The target 11.4, a sub-target, talks about strengthening efforts to protect and safeguard the world's cultural and natural heritage. So this heading is quite important. It's quite an advantage to have your own topic heading in these policy documents. if you have ever been involved in that world of policy. Of course, we're not only limiting ourselves to urbanism and the goal 11, but this is our anchor, and we're also trying to see how we can, again, broaden out into the whole spectrum of the 17 global goals, going from hunger and gender issues, inequalities, peace, governance, justice, work and employment, all sorts of issues. We are also seeing how heritage connects with these. And talking about different themes, there are also different thematic global agendas, not just the SDGs, which is the mother umbrella. We have some specific thematic agendas, one of these being the New Urban Agenda, which was adopted in 2016 at the UN Human Settlements Program Summit, Habitat 3, in Quito, Ecuador. And this document, the New Urban Agenda, has a lot of references to culture and cultural heritage as well. So it's a very good entry point for discussions on linking heritage and sustainability. Well, this is all time sensitive. Time is a big issue, talking about the future. And the year 2030, it's not that far away. There is debate on how realistic a timeline it is. Nevertheless, there is huge galvanization, huge motivation on achieving certain goals by 2030. And how do we measure these? Measuring progress is key in the SDGs. So there are indicators defined for different targets, and our target at 11.4 is on expenditure per capita, public and private expenditure for cultural heritage protection. And the way that progress is reviewed annually by the UN is through the High-Level Political Forum, HLPF, and each goal is reviewed on a triennial rotating basis. So, for example, SDG 11 has been reviewed in 2018, last year. We as ICOMOS had quite a strong delegation. We attended, we lobbied there, we had our side event. You will see in our poster our special campaign logo, especially for HLPF 2018. And the next round will be 2021, 3 years later, and perhaps that's a focus in our calendar to work toward as well. So this is a very broad framework of how heritage is featuring in the SDGs. And a little bit more information on ICOMOS's work specifically. Well, the SDGs working group, previously known as a task force, was set up in 2015, but it does have older background. I mean, this is not that new for ICOMOS. Even the Venice Charter is talking about future generations back in 1964. And the way that that sustainable development discussion has been accelerating in discussions, it goes back to perhaps the 1990s when the cultural landscape concept entered the World Heritage Convention. But in 2011, we have the seminal declaration, the Paris Declaration, Heritage as a Driver of Development. So we see heritage as a driver and enabler of development as a big slogan, a concept, a vision that we are working with. Emphasizing that heritage is not just monuments, it is identity, memory, sense of place. It has crucial roles in social cohesion, growth, good urban form, socio-economic regeneration, tourism, well-being of communities, etc. And we have adopted an action plan in 2017, the ICOMOS Action Plan for Cultural Heritage and Localizing the SDGs. Localizing is a key concept here. That is one of the problems that were identified in earlier years about these UN policies. They never really go down to the ground, to the grassroots, where the real action is going on. And hence, in this SDGs, this localization issue, how to actually have this vertical cohesion between different policy levels, between the local, between individuals, NGOs, and national and regional and international levels. How do they work together in localizing the global goals? So our action plan has identified certain principles such as diversity of communication and the right language, inclusivity, the culture-nature connection, and also connections of cultural heritage with culture at large as a bigger concept. And here, partnerships are key. We work with the United Cities Local Governments, UCLG Culture Committee, who are completely committed to having culture as a bit broader goal in the Sustainable Development Agenda in the future, the Culture 2030 Goal Campaign, as well as IUCN, International Union of Conservation of Nature, Habitat, UNESCO, obviously, and other stakeholders. So this is also a mobilization externally plus internally. So in ICOMOS, there is a huge breadth of work that's been going on, different work streams, different working groups, national committees, international scientific committees. The SDGs should be, if they're going to be effectively engaged in ICOMOS, they need to be coordinating all of the different types of committee work. We also have sister working groups, such as the Climate Change and Heritage Working Group, Rights-Based Approaches to World Heritage Working Group, Emerging Professionals Working Group, and the Culture Nature Journey, which is a very important new initiative going on since 2016. We have a lot of work that we're trying to actually undertake with limited resources. So fundraising and engaging with the economics of heritage is also an important issue. And if anybody is interested in joining us and working with the SDGs Working Group at ICOMOS, please feel free to email us at secretariat.icomos.org. You can also check out our web page in the ICOMOS website. It is quite easy to find, Sustainable Development. So thank you very much for your time, and again, wishing you a very good event in Amsterdam. Bye-bye.